What's going on, everybody? This is John J Gaming on the mic here, coming at you with a brand new episode of the FCS Dynasty here on NCAA 06, featuring that 06 Next mod, as we are coming in on the final full week of regular season action, and we are going to get a much more clear picture of the teams that are in the hunt to go into the FCS playoffs and compete for a national championship. So guys, we got 8 great episodes on tap, starting with this game of the week here in the Battle of the Wagon Wheel. So you're not going to want to miss a single thing. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well if you do happen to be brand new to the channel, as we go ahead and officially get things underway, as Kent State's gonna start us off on a high note. We got a touchdown for the Golden Flashes, and the defending national champions, they are going to take a 7-0 lead on their hated rivals. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows though, as Akron is going to be able to go ahead and force a turnover. They do get really nice field position to work with as well, but the key thing is, are they able to do anything with the football? Do they get any points? And that answer is a resounding no. So it is a absolutely missed opportunity for for Akron to get back in this game and tie things up, as Mike Daniels, when he's given enough time, he's got a lot of talent around him, and he's going to go ahead and get a touchdown on the board, as Kent State is going to go ahead and take a 14-0 lead. That man absolutely wide butt naked open, by the way. That's going to be one of the easiest touchdowns he gets all year long. And so a 2-score lead, make that a 3-score lead, as there was 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm still getting in that end zone though. Touchdown Golden Flashes. And a dominant performance so far for the defending national champions, as they are sending a message here in the Battle of the Wagon Wheel. A 21-0 lead, as now Daniel's going to try to throw over the middle to try and, looks like it was supposed to be a running play, and then it kind of was just a like a blown assignment. I'm not sure exactly what happened there, but Akron does manage to get another turnover off of that due to the overthrow. So now here we are in the fourth quarter. Akron still has not gotten any points on the board as of just yet. And that is still going to be the case, as Terrence Jones is going to throw this interception, and that is going to be taken all the way back to the crib. A touchdown for the Golden Flashes here, as that will go ahead and make this an even more commanding lead, 34-0. And it is certainly barbecue chicken on this one. The game of the week going decidingly in favor of the Golden Flashes, as your defending national champions in Kent State, they send a huge message here in terms of winning the wagon wheel and dominating Akron by a final score of 41-14. Kent State, we might very well be seeing them in the conference championship. So we go ahead and switch to some other games that, wanted to watch out for. And while Alabama State is not ranked, they are definitely a team that has showed tremendous improvement, and a game that, to be honest, one of your guys, the channel members, selected this game. So, I mean, if that channel membership program, that's something that you're interested in, so that you can have more say in the games that are shown in the FCS Dynasty, definitely check that out. I do have that link in the description. But for the very first time in this series, we're actually going to take a look at Jackson State and how they are going to have to find a way to contain this running back, Eddie Cruz, who is, pretty solid running back for the Hornets, but so is their QB, T.Y. Huntley, who's going to throw down the left-hand side, and it's going to be caught by fellow custom prospect Trey Williams in the back of the end zone. No greater feeling than seeing a custom-to-custom connection, and that is going to go ahead and make it 10-0 early. Not to mention Dante Falk, he is certainly feeling himself as well. He will also get an interception to go with that, as now T.Y. Huntley with the football and in the red zone. He'll drop back the pass on a 3rd and long, facing pressure, but is still going to go ahead and rifle it in the end zone. Touchdown Hornets. And Alabama State looking good here early, man. A 17-0 lead as Huntley is able to really stare down the pressure and still deliver a great ball exactly where it needs to be. Really excited for the future of T.Y. Huntley, Trey Williams, and really this Alabama State squad. They are certainly trending in an upward direction. As we'll go ahead and see Trey Williams take the kickoff. He stiffs arms one defender, and now it's a foot race, and this man is going to be gone like a girl in a country song. Touchdown Hornets, as that will mark Trey Williams' 2nd touchdown of the day. Alabama State with a commanding lead of 24-0, and this is certainly not the same Jackson State squad that, gets so much hype in modern college football. For an FCS squad, of course, and, also helps when Deion Sanders is your head coach. He is not head coaching the squad just yet, but John West here, true freshman, is going to deliver a really great football. And they're going to actually go for a 2-point conversion as well to get it down to 2 possessions, but maybe would have been better off settling for the extra point. It just feels too early to go for 2-point conversions, at least, at this juncture of the game. So instead of 24-7, it ends up being 24-6, as Eddie Cruz, that man that we are highlighting in the pregame show leading up to this matchup, he's going to find the end zone as well. So 31-9 game in Jackson State. Definitely need to get his act together if it wants to go ahead and come back and win this game, and this will certainly help. Another touchdown pass is going to give Jackson State a 2-possession game, but they will opt to go for the 2-point conversion once again, although this time it actually does work for them. So now a 14-point game, although Jackson State, their next possession does end in a 3 and out, and they kick it right back to Trey Williams, and Trey Williams is too dangerous to kick to. Gotta be on top of it on the kickoff coverage, and that just did not happen. That's a glitch, but Trey Williams does get his 2nd touchdown of the day. As now 38-17 lead for the Hornets, as John West, he's looking for his 3rd touchdown of the game, and just a perfect throw. There was double coverage, but it doesn't change the fact that that receiver had a step on both of those DBs, and John West made him pay for it. It leads to a Jackson State touchdown that will get it right back down to a 2-possession game. Moving in late in the 4th quarter, still a 2-possession game, as they try to go with a play action in the back of the end zone, but we get ourselves a safety here. We don't see very many safeties in this series, of course, as T.Y. Huntley could not get rid of the football, and not only do they give up a couple of points, but Jackson State, they get a football and a chance to make this game a little bit more interesting, but instead we will end up seeing what will likely be the final dagger, as John West does end up getting intercepted, and not only is it a turnover, but it gets taken right back to the crib, as well as Alabama State is going to find the end zone. Touchdown Hornets! So now 1:25 left to play in this entire game, and while the result definitely seems pretty set in stone, don't tell these Jackson State kids that, as they are going to fight until the bitter end, as he is down the sideline and he is gone. Mama, there certainly goes that man, as Brandon Hudson, who's been having a really electric day today, 288 yards, 3 total touchdowns as well to go with it here. And yet in the last minute of the game, we know the hard way, it's just simply not going to be enough here, as Alabama State forces yet another turnover, this time courtesy of a fumble. And with Alabama State winning that turnover battle, that ends up being the ultimate difference, as Alabama State wins this game by a final score of 45-33. So what we ended up seeing, definitely was. We showed how good Alabama State could be, and I would not be surprised if, even though they won't make the playoffs this year, I would imagine, watch this team in terms of possibly making to the FCS playoffs here in year number 3 as they continue their upward projection. Definitely more improved than when they were blown out by New Mexico State last year. So we move on to a game that has huge FCS playoff implications. We got Texas Southern taking on the other Southern that is in this conference. Now, Texas Southern and Southern are in the same division, and it's a really tight race for that Big 12 South Championship crown. Right now, Texas Southern, they are on top 6-1, and it's very simple for them. If they win, they will move on to the conference championship. Win and in. It's that simple. However, Southern, even though they're 5-2, so they're 1 game behind currently, if they beat Texas Southern, then Western Carolina, who's currently on bye, they would get in, as Western Carolina has wins over Texas Southern and the Southern team right there. So Coach Benfield and the Catamount faithful that are watching this video right now, definitely pulling for the Jaguars to win this game. But Texas Southern, they have other plans, picking off Mike Hill early here, as that will give the Tigers a 7-0 lead. We'll see if Mike Hill can respond in kind. He's going to throw down the sideline, and man, sometimes it's just better to be lucky than it is to be good. That was triple coverage. That had absolutely no business being completed, and yet here we are, barbecue on the titties. It ends up being completed anyways, as now Southern now in the Tigers territory, but facing a 3rd and long. Mike Hill going with a 5-line set, throwing to the right hand side, and it's caught. Touchdown Southern, and the Jaguars tie things up against their Texas counterparts. A tie ball game early, as Texas Southern now going to get the football early, hands it off to Roderick Murray down the sideline. Sue Animal is going to come in and make not necessarily the touchdown saving tackle, but more of the touchdown saving shove out of bounds that will get him inside the 5-yard line. But here's the thing, Texas Southern, one of the best red zone offenses in the country. They are in the top 10 in the nation right now among all FCS teams, and they're going to be adding on to that as the fullback is going to get a little bit of love. Touchdown Tigers. And somewhere out there, not the expert is smiling because that fullback is getting involved in this game. Texas Southern with the lead, but the Jaguars going to respond early as the #1 player in high school football, Justin Jones, is going to take it to the distance. Touchdown Jaguars. The custom player, not only 5-star, but the #1 player in high school football last year, showing why he earns that designation as he makes a huge play here. They'll tie things up at 14 apiece, but man, I hope you guys brought your track cleats for this one, because we got ourselves a track meet in this one, as Roderick Murray is gonna be leaking out of the backfield, and is also going to get involved with the passing game, and just wide butt naked open. Zoo Animal, he had a chance to make the tackle, couldn't get it done, and the Tigers are back on top. Definitely a back and forth game though. Mike looking over the right hand side, gets it out to the tight end, and that will get him to about midfield, as that was thrown in very tight coverage. Defense was good there, just a better throw, as Mike Hill, a few plays later, 3rd and 9, gets it out to his receiver, who comes down and makes a nice 25-yard catch on the play. However, the drive will end up stalling out, and Southern will not come away with any points there. So a 24-14 game as we jump in to late in the first half. Zoo Animal makes the tackle on Roderick Murray, but it's going to be too late. And Texas Southern going into the halftime locker room, it's not looking good for them whatsoever. A 31 the 14 deficit. So definitely a lot of work that needs to be done. They need a spark. Mayhew dropping back. He's going to try to throw this thing, and Zoo Animal makes a deflection, and a linebacker is able to come in and make a play. That's Brad Roth. Gets a huge interception that came at literally the perfect time. It was much needed. And now Southern with a chance to get right back into this game as Mike Hill on the very next play gets it into the end zone. Touchdown Jaguars. And is right back in a 10-point game. Jumping into the fourth quarter now. Hill gets it out to Philip Leslie. He goes down the sideline, and mama, there goes that man. Touchdown, Southern. Now just a field goal game, and how about Philip Leslie really displaying some incredible strength as we get back into the final minutes of this game. Playoff hopes on the line. Kickoff is going to be caught. Moving down the sideline. This could give Southern the lead if there's no flags, and there's not. Touchdown Southern. And the Jaguars are in perfect position right now to win this game. All they would need to do is get one more stop. A field goal can't beat them. But they start off extremely strong here as Roderick Murray is going to be targeted downfield. It's going to be a huge first down. Also, getting out of bounds as well, saving some time on the clock. Later on in the drive, 50 seconds left. Mayhew facing incredible pressure, and Southern is going to be getting to this quarterback, and that will force Texas Southern to take their second timeout. They only have one more left to work with, and a 3rd and 23 also. Mayhew, he's forced out of the pocket. He's actually going to run for the first down. He gets it. He actually gets the first down on a quarterback sneak. I don't know if that was planned or not because he bailed the pocket early. But man, you give up that play on a 3rd and 23. Talk about fumbling the bag as the drive is going to be capped off by a Roderick Murray touchdown. 22 seconds left. This crowd absolutely stunned at this present moment. And Texas Southern is going to the conference championship. They win a close one, winning by a final score of 38-35. And that has ramifications elsewhere in the country because Western Carolina, they are not ranked right now. They can no longer have the opportunity to win that automatic qualifier for the Big 12 Conference. This will effectively eliminate Western Carolina from FCS playoff contention. As for Texas Southern, we'll see how high they go. So we jump into another game that was selected by your channel members, as we have a non-conference matchup between the Penn Quakers, who, you know, we'll see what ends up happening in terms of who wins that Ivy League crown. 5-2 conference record, but you know, gotta try to bump up the resume up a little bit. They got this road game against Eastern Kentucky, which they were 5-1 at some point, but then they collapsed here in the last few games of the season. They're currently riding a 4-game losing streak that, you know, took them out of any possibility of going to the FCS playoffs. But we'll see if they can at least get a little bit of momentum going into this season. But that's not really how you want to do it, though, as I believe that was Ryan Perkins that was going to get the carry, and he ends up fumbling the football there, as Ryan Perkins fumbling that bag early. It puts Penn in phenomenal field position here, as now dropping back to pass. He's looking over the left-hand side. It's the All-American, Dron Trina, as that is going to be the first blood suffered, as the Penn Quakers, representing that Ivy League, takes the lead over their Big Ten counterparts. A 7-0 lead. As now, looking over, going, trying to throw this thing deep downfield, and the response is immediate. Touchdown, Eastern Kentucky. As Chad James, he was able to roll out to the right, recognize the one-on-one matchup that was happening on the outside, and hey, that turns into a tie ball game. However, ensuing kickoff, if it goes to John Trina or the impact corner, and it goes to the impact corner, he's a dangerous man down the sideline. Mama, there goes that man. Touchdown, Quakers. And Penn is going to reclaim that lead, making it 14-7, and puts pressure back on Eastern Kentucky. What's the response from James and Perkins? Play action, looking, going downfield. He's got one-on-one, and it's caught. Touchdown, Colonials. And the Colonels are going to tie it back up 14-all. We might have another track meet on our hands, as we got ourselves a really high-scoring game here. It is 14-all already, and we are still not even out of the first quarter yet. Things are getting insane, that's for sure. Like I said at the title of this video, the chaos, even though we're late in the regular season, it is not over yet. Not remotely. As James looks downfield, trying to score off the turnover, and he does. Touchdown, Colonels. That's the third touchdown pass, I believe, for Chad James. And that man, he is certainly feeling himself right now. Is now, later on in the game, getting to the closing moments of the first half. Ryan Perkins, he's dangerous, and oh, he almost broke that completely. Last line of defense, able to just barely make the tackle. He had to dive for it. We'll see if Eastern Kentucky can build off of this, though, as Perkins is going to drop back. He breaks one tackle, throws it, and it's intercepted. You do all that work to avoid the sack, so I thought something cool was going to happen for the offense, but instead it happens for the defense, as Jason Malone, the impact corner that we've been talking about, he's got the punt return for the touchdown, and now he has an interception to his name as well, as he is doing everything in his power to make sure that his team finishes above 500 here for year number 2, so that if they don't get the playoff tiebreaker for the Ivy League, if they're not declared Ivy League champions, they will at least, be able to finish the year above 500, and it would still be a solid year for Penn, right? So there's that, but that being said, they can't score, and Eastern Kentucky, we knew this offense was really good. We seen it in the gameplay throughout the year, and we're seeing it here. 28-14 lead now, as Chad James makes it 4 touchdown passes here in this game. As we now jump in late in the third quarter, and this is following the touchdown pass that Chad James throws, as Jason Malone's going to get another one. Are we going to get double trouble? Wait a minute now. He's in the clear. I didn't realize this is a Drake song, because we're going back to back with Jason Malone. Second touchdown of the game for that young man. And Penn still hanging tough. They're remaining in this game. It's just a one-possession battle. Dropping back. Penn's next offensive possession goes over the middle, and just so much traffic there. And the thing with Don Trina, yes, he is an All-American. Yes, he is built different. But when it comes to those throw-up balls, just chucking it and hoping for the best, John Trina's not the best at that. He transfers better as, playing in that slot and hurting you that way. And just a concept mistake there at the end of the day. And that's going to help Eastern Kentucky get great field position. Perkins is actually going to throw it, but it's fumbled. It's fumbled. Ryan Perkins completes the pass. He'll also make the tackle here, but his receiver did definitely sell on him. That is without any shadow of a doubt. And that is, of course, Jason Malone, who made that play. He's been all over the field. I would not be shocked, actually, if he ends up winning Defensive Player of the Week when it's all said and done, because he definitely deserves it, man. He's been playing extremely well, forcing multiple turnovers, getting multiple touchdowns to go with it. If it wasn't for him, this might be one of those games where, maybe we cut the recording a little bit early and, I show like a box score at the end, instead. But That's not what's happening here. That's not what's happening whatsoever. They're still in this game. They just need their offense to come through, which hasn't happened yet, and that's going to put more pressure on the defense, and particularly to slow down Ryan Perkins, who's all by himself. One man left to beat, and he does end up getting tackled. Great pursuit by not only Jason Malone, but that other corner that does also go ahead and make the tackle. But it does set up a goal line situation and an opportunity for Eastern Kentucky to get some distance between them and this hungry Penn squad. And that's huge considering we're down to the last couple of minutes, and Ryan Perkins might have gone ahead and put this game away once and for all, as Perkins is going to find the end zone late. It's another touchdown for the Colonels, and it's 35-21. Penn in some trouble in terms of trying to finish over 500. They need to get on it quick. They run it up the middle here, which is really interesting. They try to get him sleeping with Ralph Thomas, but they don't get anything going there. And now we're here in the last play of the game. Penn dropping back. It's going to be thrown over the middle. It's intercepted. It's going down the sideline too. And how about this for an exclamation point? Eastern Kentucky gets yet another touchdown there. And the Colonels going to win this game. It's a little bit more lopsided than maybe what this game actually was, but it ends up being a 41-21 victory for Eastern Kentucky. It hurts that they had that 4-game losing streak towards the end of the season. That really is going to cost them from going to the FCS playoffs, because at some point they were getting top 25 consideration. They really were, but it just didn't happen that way. But at least Eastern Kentucky, they do get to go ahead and finish above 500. They will finish year 6-5, while Penn is going to fall to 5-6 to end year 2. But now we get out of non-conference action for a minute, and we go to the SEC, where Northwestern State is slated to go on the road to take on the Phoenix of Elon, who come into this contest 4-5. Now, Northwestern State, they have already clinched a trip to the conference championship game, and will most likely going up against Georgia Southern. However, that being said, they're ranked number 25 in the country as of right now, and they're looking to get that ranking up a little bit higher so that it would increase their chances to make it into the FCS playoffs in the event that they do lose the SEC Conference Championship game. And this will help a little bit in terms of if Northwestern State loses this game, that would remove any hope of them making it as an at-large. So we got that to worry about. But Wallace Gates is going to make sure that that doesn't happen, as Wallace Gates, he is wide butt naked open, and no one's going to catch that man. Not with that amount of space. And it's going to be a touchdown for Northwestern State, led by their star tailback. It's a 7-0 affair. Next drive, Richardson. He is actually going to do a little bit of running too, and he gets into the open. He does get caught. He got into a bunch of traffic, but it's still a really big gain, as, you know, this is definitely a pleasant development. Northwestern State, they're known for running the football, but, you know, their quarterback is becoming a more dynamic piece of this offense. It provides a little bit more relief to Wallace Gates, as no one can completely focus on him anymore. And the results are showing here. Wallace Gates gets to the second level without even being touched. It ends up being his second touchdown of the day. And it's going to be a 14-0 lead here, as Elon's going to try to respond, trying to throw it downfield, but then ends up being intercepted. There even is a flag thrown on top of it, so not only do we have the interception, but there's also a minor face mask penalty in there as well. That will make sure that Northwestern State not only gets the interception, but in Elon territory, as well as Wallace Gates gets his hands on the football as well. And listen, Elon's doing what they need to do. They put a spy on the running back, but the linebacker's just not good enough. I mean, it is what it is. The linebacker was there to make a play. He just couldn't bring him down, and that's what Wallace Gates does. He is extremely talented in terms of getting yards after the contact. We saw that there, but it's not all bad for Elon, though. They will get into the end zone. It's a touchdown for the Phoenix. We'll see if the Phoenix can rise above here as we get into the fourth quarter. Northwestern State still holding a 27-7 lead as we go ahead and see the kickoff underway. We got some space to work with. He gets the last block that he needs. And most importantly, there are no flags on the field as he struts his stuff down the sideline, and it's a touchdown for the Phoenix. That's going to go ahead and make it a 2-possession game again. But Richardson, he's doing really good, man. He has gained more confidence as the season has gone on. And we saw it there. Very tight window and got it through. Leads to a 64-yard touchdown. I mean, check this throw. That's not an easy throw to make, especially with all that traffic around him. He does not make that throw early on in the season. As Northwestern State, they make sure that they pass the test. This could have easily been a trap game, given that they are probably looking forward to Georgia Southern. It does determine their FCS playoff hopes for the most part, but they win this game. So at the very least, what this game does is that it keeps Northwestern State's at-large playoff hopes alive. But of course, you definitely want to win that SEC championship if you want to, solidify getting to the playoff 100%. Instead of sweating it out when the FCS playoff review, when that does end up happening. Speaking of teams that are fighting for their lives right now, we got Central Michigan going on the road to play against Eastern Michigan. It was a rivalry game out here in Ep.15, Michigan, named after a Greek war hero. In Eastern Michigan, both teams playing for different things. Eastern Michigan, they got a win against Ball State earlier this year, so if they win, they will go to the MAC Conference Championship. However, for Central Michigan, they will not go to the MAC Championship game regardless of the result of this game, but they are fighting for their lives right now. They're ranked number 24 in the country, and a loss here would get Central Michigan out of the top 25, and that will likely mean that Central Michigan will miss the FCS playoffs here in year number 2. So we got all that laid out as Bernard Montgomery is going to make sure that Central Michigan is going to be starting off right here. A key interception as Central Michigan will finish with a field goal there. It's still a tight game though. Tied at 3, and it's another interception. So both teams turning the football over early there, as we see a key interception that, gives Eastern Michigan, solid field positioning. It makes it a 6-3 game, but Central Michigan, they fumble it once again. And now we jump into the second quarter. Hopefully we get some better football here, as this quarterback is going to take on Brent Tetzel. Fumbles it, but lucky for him, one of his guys does end up recovering on the football. Eastern Michigan, they want to go to that MAC Conference Championship game. They're trying to make that dream happen. It's a 13-3 lead early, and it's another red zone opportunity. Tetzel gonna drop back. No, it's gonna be an option. He's gonna keep it and runs it in the end zone. Touchdown Eagles, as Eastern Michigan is going to be soaring early here. It's gonna make it a 20-3 game. As now Central Michigan, they are down quite a bit early, but they're gonna start working their way back in. They understand what this game means for their program. FCS playoff hopes are on the line, for Pete's sake. So they're going to fight for it here as we go right in before halftime. We will see one more touchdown for the Chippewas of Central Michigan. It cuts it down to a field goal going into the halftime. Or at least that's what we think, unless something goes down here in the last 30 seconds. Tetzel tries to send it, but fumbles it at the last second, and he ends up fumbling there as well. Now, Central Michigan, something that I forgot to mention, they actually missed the extra point following the that last touchdown that the Chippewas scored. So instead of it being a 3-point game, it ends up being a 4-point game. So we'll see if that has any kind of effect on the overall, flow of the game. But Central Michigan in the second half, they are actually going to go ahead. They are going to take the lead. It's getting real clutch here now. And that is now going to be 20 unanswered points for the Chippewas after falling 20-3 early. How about we make it 27 unanswered points in this one? It's 30-20 right now. As now, Central Michigan, they got a chance to go ahead and maybe solidify this game, send a message, but it ends up being intercepted. So that does give Eastern Michigan a little bit of life to try to get back in this game and win this thing to go to the conference championship, but unfortunately, it don't happen that way. Central Michigan, they hang on the win, so their FCS playoff hopes, they are going to go ahead and remain alive. However, that being said, Eastern Michigan, we'll see what happens to them. We'll see how far they fall in the top 25 polls when those are released towards the end of this episode. But they are now going to be hoping for an at-large bid in order to make it to the FCS playoffs for the second time in 2 seasons. Moving over to another nationally televised game, we go over to Sacramento State taking on South Carolina State. Now, South Carolina State, they have a really good record, 8-2, but not getting a lot of respect because they haven't really played anybody. They didn't have to play New Hampshire. They didn't have to play James Madison. And this should be a team that's good enough to go to the conference championship. They didn't because they did lose to Delaware. Not only Delaware, but they also did end up losing to Maine as well, which was really surprising at the time. So now they need to win this game in order to make sure that they make it in as an at-large bid. But Sacramento State, man, Sacramento State, watch out for them, as those Hornets, they have already spoiled Weber State's playoffs hopes when Weber State was ranked in the top 25, and then Sacramento State, they pulled off that upset victory in simulation. So we'll see what happens in this game, man. I'm really intrigued to see how this all goes down, as we got a fumble on the field, and wait a minute, are we going to see I thought we were going to see a big guy touchdown. I really thought we were going to see something like that, but unfortunately, it don't shake out that way. It did not shake out that way, unfortunately. So 6-0 lead here in favor of Sacramento State. They had to settle for a couple of field goals. So, but things are looking good for the Hornets. They're playing their style of football. They're doing their thing. But Victor Richardson is going to put a blown cap on this one, as he is going to run all the way down the sideline. And with less than 3 minutes left to play here in the first half, Victor Richardson gives South Carolina State their very first lead of the game. Moving into the second half, it's been a quiet first half here, but their offense starting to find a rhythm, as it did take them a little bit longer to get into the flow of the game. Their starting quarterback, Michael Hunt, is not playing. So their backup, Charles McDougal, is playing for South Carolina State. He's not that great, to be honest. 7 touchdowns, 10 interceptions going into this game, as that ends up being caught. So, hey, 8 touchdowns for Charles McDougal. Gets it closer to a 1v1 ratio in the touchdowns and interceptions. But more importantly, this lead does get returned, and it's a 13-9 game. A little bit of a defensive slugfest, but we're starting to see South Carolina State take some control here, as Victor Richardson is going to be kicked the football once again. He's going to celebrate right down the sideline once more, and it ends up being a touchdown for South Carolina State, as we go in here now for 20-9 game, as Sacramento State is going to fumble that football as well, and things are looking good for the South Carolina State squad. Let me tell you what, as now late in the third quarter, 3rd and 10, so McDougal gonna throw in a 5-wide set, throwing it over the middle, and it finds a receiver, and the receiver does the rest of the work in order to get into the end zone. Touchdown, South Carolina State. That's gonna make it 27-9, and looking really good going into the fourth quarter of action here, as Sacramento State, they do go 3 and out on their next possession, and they hit it to Victor Richardson again. Why do they do this? Do they not know that Victor Richardson is a certified bad man? I don't know what's going on, but what I do know is at South Carolina State. They do end up winning the football game, and that will push their record to 9-2. It's been a really good season for South Carolina State, albeit they haven't been very consistent in gameplay. They've been undefeated in simulated games, and that will be good enough to probably make it to the FCS playoffs as an at-large team. Definitely a wild card for sure, and I'm interested to see how the Bulldogs handle playoff action. So with us moving into week number 14, there's usually not as many games in this week, but there is still a few games I wanted to talk about that didn't get to see in gameplay. Starting with number 22 Buffalo. They played host to Morgan State, and the Buffalo Bulls, they pull one out. They win 42-21. We'll see if this gets them off the bubble as they are trying to get into the FCS playoffs for the very first time in this series. As for Florida Atlantic, they're also trying to do the same thing as they came into this week. Number 21 in the country, they played against Northern Iowa in their season finale, and they win 41-17, which means Northern Iowa falls below 500 to end year 2. Meanwhile, Florida Atlantic puts themselves in a really good spot to make the FCS playoffs. As for Ball State, though, we had a little bit of some drama down in Indiana as we see them play against Norfolk State. They win 20-17, but it was one heck of a fight by the Spartans of Norfolk State to end year number 2. As for Arkansas State, they do finish year number 2 in blowout fashion as they blow out Villanova 42-10. Arkansas State will finish 7-4. We'll see if they can somehow crack the top 25. Meanwhile, Villanova is done for season number 2 as they fall to 2-9. However, we do have one big upset here in week number 14 as North Texas blows the doors off of Idaho, winning 47-20. North Texas only at 500. Meanwhile, Idaho might be in some serious danger now of missing the FCS playoffs all of a sudden. Same thing cannot be said for Temple, though, as they managed to go ahead and handle their business. They went on the road to take on Tennessee Tech, and they win 45-14. Temple in a good spot to at least be the home team for their first round FCS playoff matchup. And finally, to wrap up the week 14, scores around the league, we got New Hampshire taking on New Mexico State, and quite the shootout that we had, but the Wildcats do end up prevailing, winning 37-34, which means they will go into Conference Championship Week 10-1 and also in the position to get a first round bye in the FCS playoffs. So the final game being featured in this episode definitely has some intrigue to it. This nationally televised game has James Madison, the number 3 team in college football, taking on an up-and-coming squad in the Nicholls State Colonels. As the Colonels, they're seeking to go 7-4. Not to mention they are currently ranked in the top 35, so not officially ranked in the AP poll. They could very possibly do so if they can somehow find a way to slow down Kenny Raymer. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the nation. 40 touchdown passes to date so far. So this Nicholls State's defense is going to have its hands full for sure. As Raymer, speaking of which, is going to throw the right-hand side, gets it out to Maurice Gray, and Gray is going to take it down the sideline and is going to score an early one as the savvy veteran is going to be able to carve out some space and just off of a little out route to the outside, able to score that way, and James Madison takes a 7-0 lead early. But we'll see what Frederick McNair is made of as he hands it off and it's fumbled. James Madison is going to recover it, and that is not the start that you're looking for if you're trying to go ahead and pull off an upset. Especially if you're at home. That crowd going to play a real big factor in whether you can pull off an upset like this or not. As now James Madison, they get an opportunity to score once again, and they are not going to miss out on opportunities like that. BJ Bowers, he's going to take the rock on a 4th and inches play, and he'll run it right back into the end zone Another touchdown for James Madison. That's been all Dukes early here, but hang on now. Nicholls State, they're not done yet, as that ball was tipped at the line of scrimmage, and Justin Arnold, able to get his hands on the football, gives the Colonels a little bit of life. However, they do not finish that drive off. It's still 17-3 as Raymer, he'll throw it over the left-hand side, and he finds David Thorne, the big fella, at wide receiver. And it's a goal line situation once again. As we saw the career numbers for Kenny Raymer, it's been an amazing 2 years in this series. 7,500 yards of passing over the last 2 years. It's been absolutely incredible to watch him play that quarterback position, as the crumb bucket is going to find the end zone as a true freshman at tight end extends the lead, making it 24-3. Moving into the second half though, Frederick McNair, he does get shaken up on this drive, but his backup quarterback is going to throw a really great ball to Tony Atkins there. So hang on, this might not end up being a blowout after all. Not to mention Frederick McNair, he just had some back spasms. He'll be back for their next drive. And speaking of that next drive, it's going to be happening quickly here as we get another turnover on Kenny Raymer. His second interception of this game. And that could very well bring Nicholls State right back in it. But they can only settle for a field goal, making it 24-13 as Raymer trying to refocus in the shotgun. Looking to his left, but it's cut off. And it's going to be returned into the end zone. Touchdown, Colonels. As Bobby Blanchard just made sure that his guys pull within 4. And it all comes down to this fourth quarter. Nicholls State, they've been there before in their battle against Georgia Southern, but they did end up closing things out. It did not end up closing things out. They let that slip away in the end. And it's looking like a similar scenario here, as the guy was right there to make a tackle, just couldn't do it. I don't know if it's because of the leap step. This game was made in 2005. So I gotta give it a few breaks, you know. This game is literally closing in on being 2 decades old, but still holds up incredibly well. And so does this James Madison squad. We see Jody Gentry get into the end zone, one of your guys' custom prospects, a 5-star recruit, by the way. So that's going to make it 38-20, and that will hold up as the final score. So definitely a great effort by Nicholls State, and I really can't wait to see what this program can do as well. They have a really good young quarterback in Frederick McNair. Deuce Randolph, we didn't call his name. He's a good tailback for them as well, but James Madison, with that #1 recruiting class, is simply too much to handle. And the Dukes are going to finish the regular season with double-digit wins, 10-1 on the year for year 2. So now that the FCS regular season is almost to a close, let's go ahead and check out how the FCS playoff picture is shaking out. Jumping in right into the top 25 polls, as right now not a lot of movement in the top 6. San Diego State's still #1. North Dakota State, they sit at #2. And then James Madison, we saw them play, they're #3 in the country. All of this makes sense. Matter of fact, nobody in the top 10 moves. New Hampshire's at #9. Georgia Southern, they remain at #10 in the country. Tulane, meanwhile, does move up a spot. So, Temple moves up 2 spots to #12. Texas Southern, off of an exciting 3-point win, they now move up to #13 in the country. Southeast Missouri State, they were on bye, they're now #14 in the country, so they definitely should be safe in terms of making it to the FCS playoffs, as is South Carolina State. That 25-point win against Sacramento State, that should get them to #15 in the country. Utah State up 3, UL Monroe up 3. Florida Atlantic is also going to be up a few spots. They're up to #18. Central Michigan at #19. They move up 5 spots. Buffalo moves up a couple of spots, as does Tennessee State, who's now #21 in the country. Northwestern State, they're #22. They move up a few spots. check out where Eastern Michigan is going to go. They're number 23 in the entire country, and they are now 23 in the country, and they are in deep trouble. They could be on the bubble for the FCS playoffs, as is Akron. They're barely hanging on by a thread too, at number 24. However, guess who joins the top 25 though? Alcorn State, 25th in the country now. They will be in the top 25 going into conference championship week, with a couple of teams sitting on the outside as well, such as North Carolina A&T, Sanford, Montana, Northern Arizona, Alabama State, and then Western Carolina. They also are receiving a couple of votes. Now, as for the Heisman race, what we got going on right now is that Bobby Young is currently sitting at the very top right now. He had a huge game against New Mexico State, 7 catches, 168 yards, and a touchdown. And as of right now, they sit at the very top. Michael Horn, even though he had a great performance back in week number 13 against Grambling State, he moves down to number 2. And then I guess San Diego State, you know, they ended their regular season pretty early, and they're getting punished for it. Andy Mosley's down to number 3, and then Brian Pruitt moves down to number 5 in the Heisman watch, with Kenny Raymer, the quarterback from James Madison. He moves up to number 4, even though we did just see him throw 3 interceptions against Nicholls State. However, he did also almost throw for 300 yards, and he also has 2 touchdowns to go with it. Now, as for the players of the week here in week number 14, the offensive player of the week goes to Victor Richardson, the senior wide receiver from South Carolina State, in that 34-9 win over Sacramento State. He was a phenomenal return man. He had over 200 total yards, and he also had 2 touchdowns, and that was really instrumental in order to get that momentum and make sure that they get past Sacramento State so that they can essentially punch their ticket into the FCS playoffs. Meanwhile, on the defensive side of the football, Edward Simmons, the outside linebacker from Brown University, the Ivy League, getting a little bit of love here. His team went on the road against Florida A&M. It was a shootout, 59-42. So his defense did give up 42 points. That is tragic. However, he himself had a really great game. 4 tackles, he had an interception, and then he got a defensive touchdown to go with it as well, as Brown is able to improve to 7-4 on the year. So guys, that will go ahead and wrap up week number 14 of the FCS Dynasty, as we are getting ready to close out the regular season for year number 2 of this Dynasty. Next episode, what we are going to go ahead and do is we are going to go ahead and wrap up the regular season by showing a couple of games. And then on top of that, I'm going to show the conference standings one more time. And then we're going to wrap that episode up by taking a preview of the conference championship games that are going to be happening. Because once we get into postseason play, it's going to be all YouTube premieres, so that I can interact with you guys, you know, in real time as those championship games are happening, as the final push for the FCS playoffs, and ultimately that national championship is happening. So you're not going to want to miss next episode, and I hope you guys are excited for it. If you are, make sure you go ahead, smack that like button, hit that subscribe button as well if you do happen to be brand new to the channel. As this is John J. Gaming on the mic signing off. I'm hoping you're all out there having a good one. Take care, everybody.